Unlike centrifugal compressors, head is not a significant factor in the selection of a reciprocating compressor, but we decided to add a quick video and show you the corresponding equation because you can use it for comparison with other types of compressors. As you can see here, the compressor head for a reciprocating compressor is a function of the inlet temperature, the ratio of specific heats, and the pressure ratio. The calculation is a straightforward procedure. The work per stage can be calculated by multiplying the adiabatic head, as seen in the previous video, by the weight flow per stage, as you can see here. And since the weight flow is given by the following equation, then the work per stage becomes as follows. Now, this equation is for one stage, or a single stage. For two stages, the equation can be expanded to add the interstage conditions for the second stage, as seen here. Notice in this expression that the subscript I, highlighted here in blue, is added to the second set of terms to reflect the second stage inlet. For a first trial at sizing or for estimates, this last equation can be differentiated and solved for Pi, the interstage pressure, with the following result. The interstage pressure is equal to the square root of the inlet pressure of the first stage to the discharge pressure of the second stage. Manipulating this equation gives the following. And now, substituting the term Rp for the pressure ratio, the following results. This last equation can be generalized for optimum work division by dividing the pressure ratio into a set of balanced values, as you can see here. In a practical case, the values for pressure ratio must include allowance for pressure drop in the interstage piping. For this reason, in the sizing calculation done by the design engineers, certain adjustments must be made. Efficiency is incorporated to the work equation, as you can see here, to account for the deviation from ideality. Now, to assist the design engineer in making estimates, the following curve gives values of efficiency plotted against pressure ratios. The values on the curve include a 95% mechanical efficiency and a valve velocity of 3000 feet per minute. The following two tables are also included to permit a correction to be made to the compressor horsepower for specific gravity and low inlet pressure. They are included to help illustrate the influence of these factors on the power requirement. The application of these factors to efficiency value is arbitrary. While it is recognized that the efficiency is not necessarily the element affected, the desire is to modify the power requirement per the criteria in the tables. The efficiency correction accomplishes this. These corrections become more significant at the lower pressure ratios and the lower inlet pressures. Now, to better illustrate these concepts, let's go back to the efficiency graph and let's suppose that we have a pressure ratio of 2. Using the efficiency graph, we can see that this corresponds to an efficiency of 79%. And now, to account for the deviation from ideality, this efficiency of 79% must be adjusted. To adjust it, we will go to the two tables and we will use the multipliers either for the specific gravity or for the inlet pressure to correct the initial efficiency. For the sake of demonstration, I will adjust it to the inlet pressure only. Let's suppose that the inlet pressure in our case is 10 psi. Using the second table, we can see that the efficiency multiplier is 0.96. Well, this means that the adjusted efficiency is 97% times 0.96. So the real or the corrected efficiency in our case is 75.8%. The efficiency values are affected by several factors. Among them, we can list the piston ring slippage, the rod packing leakage, and the valve losses. These types of losses will be discussed in detail using 3D animations further ahead. For now, just keep in mind that, in general, valve losses are the most significant. These losses are composed of several components, such as channel loss, loss in the valve opening, and leakage. Again, remember, the subject of valve will be discussed in a separate section. Also, because of inertia and imperfect damping properties of the gas, the valve may have transient losses due to bounce. Therefore, the manufacturer modifies the valve lift to suit the gas specified. For example, an air compressor might be furnished with a lift of 0.1 inch, and the same compressor being furnished for a low molecular service such as a hydrogen gas might use a lift of only 0.032 inches. Why is that? Because the problem with the higher lift is that hydrogen lacks the damping properties of air. As a result, the valve would experience excessive bounce. The effect on the compressor would be loss in efficiency and higher valve maintenance. The valve porting influences volumetric efficiency by contributing to the minimum clearance volume. If the porting must be enlarged to reduce the flow loss, it is done at the expense of minimum clearance volume. This is just one example of the many compromises the design engineer faces while designing the reciprocating compressor. Now again, the subject of valve design is involved and complex. For this reason, we have dedicated a separate section to discuss this subject in exquisite detail. So feel free to jump to this section as of now, especially if you're a little bit more advanced and have prior experience on a reciprocating compressor. However, if you're starting from scratch, we strongly recommend you to complete the course in the order we have designed. Okay, now to calculate the inlet valve velocity for evaluation purposes, you can use the following equation. This equation is based on the equation given in the API 618 standard relative to the design, operation and maintenance of reciprocating compressors. Here, V is the average gas velocity expressed in feet per minute. PD is the piston displacement per cylinder, and A is the total inlet or discharge valve area per cylinder. To calculate the piston displacement, you can use one of the equations displayed here according to your compressor configuration. Recall, this was discussed in detail in a previous video. And to calculate the term A, it is the product of actual lift and the valve opening periphery, and is the total for all inlet or discharge valves in a cylinder, as seen here. The lift is a number provided by your compressor vendor. The next video is a practice session where we will apply the equations we have seen so far to determine the performance and characteristics of a single-stage double-acting compressor. In this video, we're going to discuss the concept of clearance loss. When the compressor reaches the end of its stroke and has discharged all the gas it can, a small amount remains in the valve pockets and in the clearance space between piston and cylinder head, as depicted here. When the piston starts its return stroke, this clearance gas at discharge pressure must expand to intake pressure before inlet valve can open. As a result, no gas enters the cylinder for that portion of the stroke, which reduces the intake volume by that amount. Since the volume for the clearance gas expanded to intake pressure varies with the compression ratio, it follows that compressor volumetric efficiency, and therefore its actual capacity, varies with the compression ratio instead of varying with pressure. Cylinder clearance cannot be completely eliminated. Normal clearance is the minimum obtainable in a given cylinder and will vary between 4% and 16% for most standard cylinders. Some special low-ratio cylinders have normal clearance much greater than this. Normal clearance does not include volume that may have been added for other purposes, such as capacity control. Although clearance is of little importance to the operators, since compressor guarantees are made on actual delivered capacity, its effect on capacity should be understood because of the wide application of a variation in clearance for capacity control, but also for other purposes. There are actually many cases where extra clearance is added to a cylinder, as depicted here. First, to reduce capacity at fixed pressure conditions, and this will be covered in detail in the later section. And second, to prevent driver overload under variable operating pressure conditions by reducing capacity as compression ratio changes. So, if a compressor is designed for a given capacity at a given condition, the amount of normal clearance in the cylinder has no effect on power. When a piston has completed the compression stroke and is ready to reverse its movement, gas at discharge pressure is trapped in the clearance space. This gas expands on the return stroke until its pressure is sufficiently below intake pressure to cause the suction valve to open. On a pressure volume diagram, as the one depicted here, you can see the effect of this re-expansion on the quantity of fresh gas drawn in. On this diagram, the piston displacement can be symbolically highlighted here in blue. The re-expansion of the gas trapped in the clearance pocket takes away some of the capacity of the compressor, resulting in an actual capacity, as you can see here, lower than what could have been achieved with the piston displacement. This next figure shows a series of theoretical pressure-volume diagrams based on a constant pressure ratio of 4 and clearances of 7, 14, and 21%. The effect of clearance is clearly indicated here. As the clearance increases, the actual capacity decreases. Why is that? Because, recall, the gas trapped in the clearance volume will be re-expanded during the suction stroke before the inlet valve will open and admit fresh gas to the cylinder, and this inevitably takes away some of the compressor capacity. So, the higher the clearance, the lower the compressor capacity. It can now be seen that volumetric efficiency decreases as the clearance increases. You can see here the volumetric efficiencies for our example corresponding to 7%, 14%, and 21% clearance. The next figure that you can see here illustrates the effect of clearance at moderate and high compression ratio condition. A pressure-volume diagram for a ratio of 7, as you can see here, is superimposed on a diagram for a ratio of 4, all else being the same. A clearance of 14% has been used for illustrative purposes. The clearance for a commercial compressor designed for a ratio of 7 would be, of course, less than 14%. Now, as you can see here, as the compression ratio increases, the volumetric efficiency decreases. In our example, for the low compression ratio of 4, the volumetric efficiency is 88%, and for the high compression ratio of 7, the volumetric efficiency is reduced to 64%. Now, at this level, what I want you to understand and to keep in mind is that the volumetric efficiency of a compressor decreases as the clearance increases or the compression ratio increases. Now, just as clearance in a cylinder has predominant control over volumetric efficiency, the valve area has predominant control over compression efficiency. To obtain low clearance and a high volumetric efficiency, it is necessary to limit the size and number of valves. This may tend to lower the efficiency of compression and raise the horsepower. Both factors must be evaluated and perhaps compromises made.